What's up, guys? I'm Coach PJ, and I'm partnered up with Fight Camp Conditioning to bring you guys 3 of my favorite explosive exercises for BJJ. Each of these exercises is going to train your body in a little bit of a different way to create explosive power, athleticism, and speed. So we're going to use different muscles, we're going to use different patterns so we can really transfer all of these explosive exercises into any movement that you're doing in BJJ, even if it's something when you're laying down on your back. The first exercise in our explosive exercises for BJJ series is going to be a med ball overhead toss. I love this exercise. I use it with all of my combat athletes because it's great for developing explosive power throughout the lower body, particularly in the hips and through this hip extension motion. That motion is massively important for anything we do because when I need to get this powerful hip extension, that could transfer into me trying to bridge up, get my opponent off. That could transfer into me trying to extend and finish an armbar. Anything I need to drive that explosive hip power into, this exercise will be a great way to develop that. So what I'm going to do is grab a medicine ball. You want this medicine ball to be a moderate weight. You don't want to go with something that's 2 pounds because it'd be way too light, but you don't want to go with something 50 pounds because it's actually going to slow the movement down and you're going to be a little bit slower. So I've got a 14-pound medicine ball. Depending on how big you are, somewhere between probably 6 to 20 pounds is going to be the ideal range. Over that, only for really, really big, strong athletes. So I'm going to go with the medicine ball here. And we can start from a whole bunch of different positions. The way I'm going to show it is we're going to load and throw so we can get the most power out of it. So I'm going to start here right in front of me. I'm going to load down, so I'm going to bend at the knees and hips, and I'm dropping the medicine ball down between my knees. I'm mostly bending my hips. If you notice, I'm bent over almost like a hip hinge position so that I can reach back and really drive that power through my hips and my glutes. So I'm going to bend at the hips, I'm going to drop down, and then I'm going to explosively redirect and throw this ball up. So I'll go through it slow so you see what it'll look like. So I want to get my body to full extension and think about throwing the ball straight up and back. So it should go back behind me just a little bit. So here's what it'll look like. And then I can walk back, I'll pick up the ball, and I'll reset. Really, really important that I get that extension. My arms are really just transferring that power. My legs, my hips are what's generating that force to drive all the way up. One little thing I like to look for here is I like to make sure my athletes don't arch back too much. I don't want them to super hyper extend their back and lean back. I want them to get fully extended straight up in the air and go more for height as they throw this ball up overhead. Keep the reps really low because we're trying to train explosive power here. So I'll usually do only about 4 to 6 throws, fully rest and recover, and then you can do another set. The second exercise in our explosive exercises for BJJ series is a sprinter step-up jump. This is a great exercise for developing power on one side, so it's a unilateral exercise. So it's great for developing power through the lower body, which can transfer into shooting, can transfer into anything on your feet, and it's a great exercise for developing athleticism. You all know that guy or girl that you've rolled with and you end up in a scramble, you try to take her down, try to take him down, you snatch a single leg, and he's just somehow able to stay on his feet, roll out of positions, that athleticism that you just can't teach. But you can train it, and you can train it by using athletic-based movements like this. So you're going to learn a lot of coordination and body control throughout this movement as well, how to coordinate and control your body, the whole movement, while you're producing force. So to get set up for this movement, I've got a box here. This is about 12 inches high. I would go anywhere between probably 12 inches to maybe an 18-inch box. So that would put my foot about here where my leg is straight out from my hip. I wouldn't want to go higher than that because it's going to really screw up this position. So anywhere from 12 inches, this is a good knee bend, or a little bit higher, just about hip level would be good. I'm going to go with my opposite foot just behind, so my toe is lined up with my heel. My weight is all on this leg, and I'm going to put my opposite arm out in front. This is just going to help coordinate the power of this movement and coordinate my body together so I can stay in control of my body. So my left leg's on the box, right arm is in front, left arm is behind. I'll go nice and slow through the movement. the first thing I have my guys do is just get this pattern down. So I just work on pushing through this leg, driving up and standing up with the opposite leg. As this leg comes up, this knee goes through, this arm comes through. So I'm alternating this pattern. This is why it's called a sprinter step-up jump, because it looks like a sprinting action. Once they get that down, we can do a small jump so they get the pattern a little bit better. And then once they've nailed that, now we're going to get some explosive power. So now I'm going to drive this foot into the box, and I'm going to focus on straightening out this leg. So I'm going to push down hard. So my goal is to push hard through this leg, straighten out that leg. Then I drive this knee through, I stay in control of my body, and then I control the landing on that same leg, so I land right back under control in that same position. I'll do about 4 or 5 reps on each side there. Once you get you start to build up the ability to do this, you can actually load this by putting on a weight vest, or you can hold a weight in this hand. So maybe a 10 or 15 pound dumbbell in this hand. Now I'm not going to swing that arm, but I can load that pattern up to build even more explosive power. The third exercise in our explosive exercise for BJJ series is a staggered stance broad jump. I love this exercise because it's very similar to a wrestling type stance where you're going to start on your feet for any BJJ tournament or competition. And we're developing horizontal power, so it's going to transfer directly into explosive takedowns. So to get set up for this exercise, we're going to start off in a staggered stance or like a wrestling stance. So what I'll do with my athletes, I'll just have them take one foot, about a foot back behind this one, or they can get in their normal wrestling stance, wherever they feel comfortable. From this position, I just don't want them to be too spread out because I'm going to be generating this power a lot off my back foot. So I want to have my feet underneath my hips. So I'll bring one foot slightly back, so I'm in this staggered stance. I'm going to sink my hips down low. And one of the keys on this one is I have to be locked in this start position. I don't want any counter movements here, so I don't want to load back and jump. While that will help me to transfer more force, I know if I'm wrestling, I'm not going to load and go into my takedown. So I need to be able to produce that force from a static position right from my wrestling stance. So I'm going to get down in this position. You can start with your arms in front, you can start with your hands by your hips. I usually start with my arms back. And now all I'm going to do is drive off both feet and try to dive out. So explode my body out as far as I can. Then I'll pull my knees up so I can control the landing. So it's going to look like this. Then I'll walk back, I can reset. I can switch legs, so I like to alternate legs each time so we develop this power on both sides. Same thing, arms back. As much force as I can generate, all driving straight forward. So that's a great way to generate that force and power to be able to push off that back leg or front leg and be able to drive those explosive takedowns and drive through those takedowns so you can solidify that takedown in your BJJ competition.